tell me, Timmy, what did you want to be when you were growing up, and how did that lead you to becoming the #1 wedding officiant in KC?
Probably like most guys when I was young, I thought I want to be an adult film star. But I was raised in a
It's a
super religious
first.
home. Yeah. Yeah, that not for real, but I think because I was so religious, I wanted to be a pastor. And
Mm.
I did. After I graduated high school, went off to seminary, got my degree, theological degree, went on into pastoring, was an evangelical pastor for 30 years. I know I don't look that old. Uh, and spent 30 years doing that, and honestly just had kind of an epiphany, kind of an awakening, and left religion. And because I was a pastor, I was already doing weddings as a pastor,
Mm.
and that led me into thinking, wow, well, you know what? I've already got this little side hustle here. I ought to just turn into it and see what I can make of it. And next thing you know, here we are, doing a lot of weddings a year, a lot of relationship coaching, a lot of premarital, counseling, and that led me into matchmaking and date coaching, and yeah, it's been a great journey. So yeah, I didn't grow up really thinking, hey, when I become an adult, I want to be a wedding officiant and a relationship coach. But you know how life happens. You start going down the road, and one thing leads to another, and here we are.
That's why I love that question. There's always a story there. So you left your evangelical religion, right? I think you
Yep.
said 2018 last time we chatted.
Yep.
What I would love if you wouldn't mind to detail what was that experience like, and then what changed your mind, and what was it like kind of shifting your whole belief system?
Sure. Yeah. I was steeped in it pretty heavily, and I always had doubts and questions. I don't think anyone that's of any religion, Christian, whatever it is, you have some doubts and questions, and you wonder. And for me, it really began as more and more facts were coming in about the universe and about our world and the age of the earth and various things like that. It was confronting my faith belief, because
Mm.
I, as an evangelical, I believed that the Bible was the word of God. I don't believe that now, but I believed it was the word of God, and it was accurate and, correct. And the earth was 6,000 years old, and all those things. And Noah actually built the ark, and Jonah was actually swallowed by a big fish. And I believe those things to be literally true. And then as time went on, I was like, no, those aren't literally true.
Mm.
That's absolutely not true. And the fact that we know the earth is ancient, and on and on and on. And then the big piece for me, Nick, was a conversation with a fellow Christian friend of mine who was asking me about why I was allowing my son to play with our neighbor kid who was a Hindu. And I was like, what do
What?
you mean? Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? Why am I letting? Well, what if he corrupts your son and pulls him away from Christianity? And, Hindu's a false religion. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a false
Whoa.
religion. These are some of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. They're so kind and caring and generous and thoughtful. You mean to tell me you think these guys are going to hell because they're not Christian? Yeah, you got to believe in Jesus. And I was like, that literally, I was like, no, I'm done. That's ridiculous. There's no way that's true. There's literally just no way that the universe is set up to where only the Christians have the ultimate truth. Nope. And so that was the walk away for me. And then, I still revere or love the idea of, Jesus' teachings of being kind and
Hmm.
generous and loving and merciful and forgiving and all those principles. Yeah, I'm down with all that. But I don't think you have to be a Christian or a person who believes in Jesus in order to have a good experience in
Or
the after,
religion, right? You don't have
or
to be a person that
anything.
believes in organized religion to believe any of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm agnostic at this point, and I
Mm.
I would say I'm a spiritual agnostic because I still do, I meditate, and I still will ask the universe for guidance and things like
Me
that. But
too.
yeah, I'm definitely probably even s- agnostic, but not atheist really when it comes to specifically just the Bible God. Um so yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I lost a lot of
Oh my
friends
God.
in the process. It's been an interesting journey.
I bet. I have a very similar yet different story about my religion journey. So, When I was a kid, we were hardcore Catholic. I grew up hardcore Catholic, went to a Catholic school, second grade through eighth grade, the
Yeah.
same one that my dad went to, my uncles and aunt went to. My grandparents were founding members of the church. And my uncle was a priest. My one uncle became a priest. So I had all of that. And then my grandma, who was my favorite person in the world, and I wish she was still around, but she's not, unfortunately. It's probably maybe better to, because I don't know how she would feel about my religious journey. But, but
Say,
you know, I had right, right. I had this same idea growing up that I was going to be a priest, just like my uncle. Like I looked up to my uncle and all of that stuff, and you know that fizzled. Right, as soon as I had other things I wanted to do more, but like I kind of had this in my head that that was a family thing I needed to do. I had this moment. I questioned stuff later. As I got into junior high, I started questioning some things. And then I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school. And I went from, you know, a 17-person class for second grade through eighth grade, where I knew everybody. My world was very, very small. And since my family was poor and working class, they couldn't afford to send me to the high school. And I didn't get enough grants to do that, to go to the Catholic high school. So I got dropped right in the middle of a public high school. And on the second day, you know, it was just shocking. On the second day, we had a student that was murdered in a local forest preserve. And I'm like, what? So they're starting the day off letting us know that a fellow student body was found in and I'm just like shell shocked at this
right.
point by all the different personalities, 1,800 people getting shot and killed in a forest preserve. I was shell shocked. And one of my friends and I decided that who I met there, but we went to the same church. We had decided we were going to go to a service they were having, which was a special service, inviting the I guess now it would be the LGBTQ community, but they were inviting gay men and women to church. Okay, so I was like, oh, and now I had met some people, right? And I'm open to saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with them. They're still cool. You know what I mean? And this sounds crazy to me now, because now I'm like, do whatever the hell you want, just don't hurt anybody. But we go to this service because I'm like, oh, maybe this is. And they started off pretty much with this message that God still loves you, but you're wrong. Like you're not a good person. And this is not the right way to live. Marriage is between a man and a woman, but just so you know, God still loves you. It was like the most passive aggressive, abusive speak. And after that, I was like, you know what? This ain't for me. Similar to you. I'm like, if you're telling me that my friends and family who are loving someone else, that and you're telling them they can't love, like this isn't God, like this isn't aligning for me. So that to me was a point where I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And I tried other religion. I tried other churches, more new age stuff. And I always felt like an outsider, or like you have to like buy in so much and you can't question things. And if you question things, then you're kind of viewed as an outsider. And I didn't like that. I want inclusion. We're all human beings, you know? And so anyway, I just had to share that, hearing your story and seeing the similarities of how religion can sometimes just turn you against someone else just because they're different.
Yeah, it's a very us and them setup. You know, the whole thing is a very us and them. It's the saved and the lost. It's the God and the devil. It's the in the church, out of the church, the heaven, the hell bound.
It's all black and white.
Yeah, and it definitely, for me, early on, I was an early adopter of same-sex marriage because I was a supporter of it, and that actually got me disfellowshipped from my evangelical, my first ordination. The group that I was a part of. They found out that I was doing same-sex ceremonies, and they said, yeah, you can't do that and be associated with us. And I'm like, well, bye. Like, I don't want to be associated with you guys. And so that
Good
was
for you.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
It's very culty. It sounds very culty.
Very,
which I talk a lot about cults now. I never thought I would be so embedded in the cult community, but here I am. But it sounds very culty.
Dude, I interviewed a guy from Heaven's Gate and met him like in person. We did an interview together. He happened to be passing through Kansas City, and yeah, he got out about a year before they committed mass suicide, the whole Heaven's Gate. Yeah. Yeah. It was
Wow.
wild. His story was wild. His girlfriend had stayed in it and committed suicide with
Oh
all of
my
the other cult
gosh.
members. Yeah, he just said something in his stomach was just feeling icky about it was just this seems a little off.
Yeah.
And of course, as an outsider looking in, it's just like it's way
It's a
off.
way off.
But
When
I
you're
can how it's like the warming of the kettle, the frog's in there and it's just
Yep.
warming a little bit over a little bit and you don't notice it as much. But goodness gracious, as an outsider looking in, even now with religion, when it's hardcore evangelical or anything that's just hardcore religious, I look at it and I'm just like, whoa, I used to
Me
be
too.
like that. That is wild.
I literally used to think people were going to hell.
Yeah, me
And
too.
it would give me this weird sense of like, I don't even know, accomplishment to be like
The
that person doesn't
superiority.
believe
Like
in God.
I'm in
Yeah.
the know. I'm in the know. I'm in the in club. I'm in with the creator of the universe. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
so
It's
crazy.
it's wild. But I think you're right. It's like the frog in the pot, right? Or if it's all you ever know growing up that way, you just don't know the outside world. And a lot of times that's part of it too, right? Is if you don't get that outside influence, you don't get new information, you're just stuck in an echo chamber. So
Yeah.
what else are you gonna believe?
It's kind of like the Truman Show, or if you've seen the movie The Village, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's like that. It's like The Village, where this community thinks this is out in theirs, the monsters are there, and
Yeah,
here it's
we're
safe. And so
safe.
they go out there into the woods, and they get through the woods, and they're like, oh wait, we're in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's no monsters out there.
When I first saw that movie, I hated it with a passion. And now it's probably one of my favorite M. Night movies because
Yeah.
I look at it like that. I look at it
Uh,
differently.
yeah, it's a very profound movie, really, when you watch it in that kind of a context.
Right. And I think part of the problem with that movie and the way I viewed it is it was marketed so differently than what it turned out to be that I went in with the wrong expectations. I think that
Yeah,
was part of it. I was
yeah,
expecting a horror movie and I didn't
right.
get that.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't that.
Yeah. Yeah.